So there's this YouTuber, and yes, I'm classifying him as a YouTuber, not a boxer after what he did on Saturday. There's this YouTuber by the name of Jake Paul. This YouTuber disappointed. And I don't know if I was overrating him or I was underrating Nate Diaz. I bought the fight and I thought I was gonna see a whole knockout. I thought I was gonna see somebody get their teeth broken in. Instead, what did I see? Him gassing out at round 5. I mean, I shouldn't even bought the fight. I should have just seen the highlights. The highlights were trash. It was all Nate Diaz. Nate Diaz carried the whole fight, entertaining. Now, what I'm trying to say here is Jake Paul disappointed. And now he cannot say he could beat KSI. I truly believe after KSI's 2 latest fights, I don't think Jake Paul could beat KSI. I truly don't believe that. Every single fight that I'm seeing from Jake Paul, I see him get worse and worse and worse. I think his peak performance was when he fought Tyron Woodley and he knocked him out. I think that was his peak performance. The Tommy Fury fight, trash. This fight, trash. I don't know if they're not focusing on his cardio. I don't know if they're getting too confident with his right hand, but he did trash. Absolutely garbage. Now, does this mean that it's over for Jake Paul? No, because he still got the win. I wouldn't classify it as a win, but he still got the win. Now, what does Jake Paul have to do in the near future for him to be classified as a real boxer? Is to fight a real boxer. The only real boxer he's ever fought in was Tommy Fury, and he got dog walked. He got his ass fucking clapped. So now, can he come back from this? Yes. Should he fight an MMA fighter? No. If he does, I'm not gonna buy it. I'm not watching it. I don't want to see him get dogged by another MMA fighter and him coming back and saying, I'm still a good fighter. He wants to fight Canelo with those skills and with that momentum. Absolutely fucking not. He'll get fucking knocked out. A little offside here, but I think KSI will whoop his ass. Honestly, I think he'll knock him out in 3 rounds. But Jake Paul really disappointed in this fight. All he did was knock him down. I think he got confident with that knockdown because after that knockdown, he was trash. He gassed out. Nick Diaz was showboating. This is what he was doing. This is what he was doing. He was then there taking pictures with the fans. He might as well have just taken a picture with the fans. That's what he was doing, showboating. He grabbed him in a chokehold. Bro, there's no way you're classified as a boxer and you're letting an MMA fighter who has ring dust, who's old, who hasn't fought in a long time. You can't let him do that to you, and then you still want to be classified as a real boxer or a decent boxer. You can't be doing that. You can't be taking pictures in the middle of the fight or showboating, acting like he's getting knocked out, and still think that you're classified as a boxer. Jay Paul really disappointed this fight, and if he really wants to come back and say he's a real boxer, fight a real boxer, one that has 10-0, 15-0, a decent boxer. But you can't come back and fight an MMA fighter and still want to be classified in one respect to be a real boxer and actually be known as a real boxer, not just a YouTuber.
Okay, now obviously Jake Paul is gonna get a lot of hate. You know, a lot of people who weren't going for Jake Paul, they're gonna use it against him. They're gonna be like, you know what? How did you get embarrassed? How were you able to knock him out? But you got to give respect to Jake Paul because at the end of the day, he was controlling the fight. He was being the dominant one. Yeah, Nate Diaz had a couple moments, but those weren't hurting him. If you slow it down, when he was going ham on him, when he was throwing punches, if you slow it down, you can see that those weren't hurting Jake Paul. Some of them maybe weren't even landing. Let's get some history. You know, from a Nissan Gibb and all the way up to a retired NBA star, and then to an MMA fighter, and then to another MMA fighter. You got to realize that Jake Paul is improving. Although it didn't look like he improved in this fight, he is improving. And it is something that future opponents like KSI or a rematch with Tommy Fury, they have to worry about. You know, it's not like Jake Paul is getting worse. If you look at the commentators, if you hear what they were saying, if you look at the weight concept and you see other people and you hear what they're saying, they will tell you that Jake Paul's improving. It's not like he's getting worse. It's not like he's staying stationary. He is improving, especially with his new team. With his new team around him, you could definitely see that he improved with his uppercuts, with his combos, with his head movement, with his foot movement. You know, although it may look like he was getting rocked, he wasn't getting rocked. He was still active. He was still throwing punches back, which is why if you look at the decision, you can see that he clearly won more rounds. I don't think it should have been a split decision. I feel like it should have been a majority decision to Jake Paul because if you look at the scorecards and you look at the judges, if you hear the judges what they scored Jake Paul as, he was like 7 points up from Nate Diaz. I think it was like 91 to something. I'm not really sure, but he was definitely up way more than Nate Diaz. You know, a lot of people want to see it as, oh, look at Nate Diaz. He was taunting him. You know, Nate Diaz was going up on him and Jake Paul couldn't handle the pressure. Again, like I said, Jake Paul was not rocked. A lot of people who aren't true boxing fans, they won't understand this. They see, oh my God, look, he's putting pressure on him. He's hurting him. He's winning the rounds. Not really. Even those rounds that Nate Diaz made it look good in, I don't even think he won those rounds. Why? Because he wasn't landing anything good. He wasn't hurting him. When judges look at it, they look at his, yeah, he's throwing a lot of combos. Yeah, he's letting his hands go. But what are they doing to Jake Paul? They're not doing anything that doesn't give him the round. That's not gonna win the judges' decision. So in the end of the day, Jake Paul may have not looked his best this time. Maybe he made it look better with the Anderson Silva or Tyron Woodley. Obviously, just because he didn't get the knockout, it doesn't mean that he's still not a fearful opponent to KSI or Tommy Fury or even Jorge Masvidal. I personally think that he will whoop KSI. I still don't think KSI is a complete fighter. I still feel like, he still needs to warm up a little bit. He fought Temper, who's not a real fighter. Yeah, he fought Joe Fournier, but I mean, it was an elbow. Anything could have happened in the later rounds. Who knows? So I feel like KSI doesn't have the fundamentals that Jake Paul has. I feel like Jake Paul is better with timing his shots, and I think he's more powerful than KSI. Tommy Fury, the rematch, though, I feel like Tommy Fury starts off fast. Jake Paul starts off very slow. So if it happens again and again, and the fight happens again, I feel like Tommy Fury still ends up winning, like I said, because he puts more pressure. He's more active. Jake Paul kind of sits back, flat-footed, waiting to land the overhand right, which if he continues to do this, Tommy Fury will continue to put on pressure, and Tommy Fury will end up getting the upper hand, and he will start winning the rounds. The judges will favor Tommy Fury all because he's landing more punches, he's being more active, and they're probably seeing that Jake Paul doesn't want it as bad. So in the end of the day, although Nate Diaz versus Jake Paul, although this wasn't Jake Paul's best performance, he's still a good opponent, and he still should be feared by other future opponents.